We focus on Ghana this time, where a 3-day protest has escalated into violent clashes between demonstrators and police. Dozens of protesters, including a minor, have been arrested following an outcry over the government's handling of illegal mining, or galamsey, and the worsening economic situation ahead of the upcoming December elections.
And with environment in peril and the economy struggling, tensions are mounting. Protesters, largely driven by young activists, demand greater government accountability. But what comes next? Joining us to discuss this unfolding situation are two guests. But first, we want to start with our first guest for today, who is Obed Owusu-Addai. He is the convener of the Ghana Civil Society Cocoa platform, and he joins us today to share his thoughts on the protests, arrest, and the larger issues affecting Ghana's future. Obed, many thanks for joining us today. We appreciate you for doing this with us, and apologies for keeping you waiting. But we're out of time, so let's just jump right into it. Let's start with the protest. It has clearly sparked a national conversation about illegal mining and economic challenges. What are your thoughts on the demonstrations ongoing?
Thank you very much for having me, and it's a privilege to be back here. So maybe to start off, I think I will pick a statement that our president made when he was inaugurated. He challenged Ghanaians to be citizens and not spectators. So exactly that. Ghanaians have realized that if we do not take matters into our own hands, the political elite will destroy our country. So that has what has led to these protests, largely led by the youth and activists who are calling on the political elites to wake up and address the challenges, especially the environmental challenges that is being caused by illegal mining. So yes, the protest is ongoing, and organized labor has even come to join the whole protest, and we have given government a deadline to meet, after which organized labor is planning to go on strike. So yes, the protest is ongoing, and unfortunately, as the protest is ongoing, legal protest, I must say, we sent letters to the police, we sent all the necessary documentation before going on the protest. The police, the political elites are weaponizing the police to attack protesters, which we think is unfortunate. We think we don't live in a banana state, we live in a democratic state where citizens have the right to protest, especially when we think our future is at stake. So that is what is happening in Ghana now.
That's very insightful there. But so let's talk about the illegal mining, shall we? Illegal mining, or galamsey, and correct me if I'm wrong, has had devastating effects on Ghana's environment, particularly its water bodies and forest, I hear. But can you explain how the mining practices has impacted cocoa farming, especially, because that's why you're here, and the livelihoods of many communities that are in Ghana?
Sure, thank you. If you look at the cocoa sector in Ghana, for the past 4 years, 4 years ago, Ghana had its highest productivity, over 1 million metric tons. As we speak now, the 2023-2024 season, Ghana only got just about 500,000. So that is half of what we produce. And a recent study that was done by the Forestry Commission came out to show that over 19,000 hectares of cocoa lands have been taken over by these illegal miners. And illegal mining has always been in the system. Unfortunately, the current trend of illegal mining is being perpetuated by political people. So politicians behind these youth who are destroying our forests and our cocoa landscape. So if we are not careful, in the coming years, Ghana, that is the second largest producer of cocoa in the world, we might go to probably third or fourth, because we know that Ecuador is doing very well, and Colombia is also coming on stream. But the real problem is the quality of the beans that we produce. We know that these illegal miners use heavy metals like lead, mercury, cyanide, and studies show that these chemicals have a tendency to get into the root of these trees and go into the seeds or the fruits of cocoa. So we are afraid that our livelihood, we as farmers, our livelihood is at stake because of the selfish interest of a few politicians and political elites. They are destroying the livelihood of over 1.5 million farmers in Ghana that depend on cocoa as a source of livelihood. So for us, the farmers, we are angry, and we join organized labor, we join other civil society groups to protest and to condemn this blatant disregard for rule of law and the destruction of our environment, which is now affecting the very livelihood that we all depend on, which is cocoa. Cocoa contributes not less than 30% of the GDP of Ghana. And if we sit there for a few politicians to destroy our environment and also destroy our water, which is destroying our source of livelihood, then we will have ourselves to be blamed. But we don't want to do that. We want to make sure that they don't do that. And that is why we are on the streets, and that is why we are protesting. And it's unfortunate that the political elite are weaponizing the police, they are weaponizing the courts to subvert the will of the people, which is unfortunate. So we are calling on everybody, we are calling our neighbors. And that is where people don't understand. Water is such a way that it travels. So the Brim River, the Pra River in Ghana, it goes all the way to Ivory Coast. And so if our neighbors and the West African subgroup don't come in and call the leadership of Ghana to book, a time is coming that our neighbors will also be affected by the acts and inactions of the leaders in Ghana.
All right. Owusu, I'm going to come back and ask about the interests of the politicians you spoke so fervently about. But before that, for the sake of our viewers, could you please explain this word galamsey?
Well, galamsey is a word that was coined from gather and sell. So in the olden days, when mining was actually done environmentally friendly, where we were doing deep shaft mining, there were certain elements within the society that were going behind these big mining companies to gather the remnants of what they have done, and then when they gather the soil and then they sieve it, they get something to sell. So it was gather and sell, and then over time it has been coined into this word galamsey. So basically, galamsey means gather and sell, where the society or the youth and young people go after miners to go through the soil that they dug and to sieve and get the gold. So basically, in the olden days, it was done with artisanal tools, so with the pickers, with the shovel and all that. But now, in recent years, with the funding from China and the politicians, they are using excavators, big excavators, and that they have mounted on our water bodies, and they are destroying the water bodies and the soil, the environment, the forest of Ghana. So that is the whole idea of galamsey, gather and sell.
Galamsey, very interesting word. Now, you did mention also that there's interest from China and also the interest from the politicians. If this is affecting the ecosystem, if it's affecting crop production, the government must be very aware of it. What policies have they put in place to try and mitigate the effect of mining or galamsey?
My brother, you are spot on. So that is the multi-million question we are asking. We know that these politicians and their families live within the same society that we all live in, and they are seeing the effects of the mining on our water, especially the drinking water that we are having now, and also on electricity generation, where some of the dams that generate power are also under threat. But unfortunately, for their own selfish parochial interest, these politicians are enacting new laws that are mandating them, that are giving them authority to go into the forest reserve. A case in point is a new law, which is the LI 2462, which was passed under the cover of darkness. And I say under the cover of darkness because nobody in civil society, and I am a forester, I work within the civil society space, and I've been working on it for about 15 years. We never heard about this law, that it was being enacted. And there is a process every government goes through to enact laws and policies. They did not go through the laid down processes. They just, under the cover of darkness, took this law to Parliament and passed it. And based on that law, they are doing things that are destroying destroying our water bodies. So what we are saying is that yes, there might be these policies and laws, but the policies and laws to the fact that they are not addressing the concerns of the people they are null and void, and we are challenging them. And one of those organizations that are challenging the law in court, we have filed a suit in court to challenge this law, and we are saying that the law is not correct, and because it is not serving the interest of Ghanaians. So these politicians, backed by some certain elements in China and other places, are hiding behind the law and policies of Ghana to destroy our environment. This is what we, the youth and the organized labor and civil society, are calling on the government to desist from doing. It's sad that when the politician is sick, they take them to Europe for medical attention, but they are rather destroying the water bodies that we depend on. And we are very sure that in the near future, sicknesses like cancer and other things become prevalent here, and we don't have the money to go to South Africa or China or Turkey for medical treatment. We depend on the water to survive, and that is why we are against this political class who are taking over the country and destroying our future.
Obed, it's always very interesting when I speak to other African countries as well, because one thing is certain, we are both sides of the same coins. It's always interesting to see all this dynamics play out. But what has been the response from the government in regards to the demands of the protesters?
Well, like they always do, when you protest, they come out to issue statements and set up committees. So in this current protest that we began, the president came out to make a statement, and he set up a committee, a 5-member committee, to go into certain and find out the root causes and also make proposals to how to resolve it. What they have also done is to send the police and the military into some of the hot spots. My sister and my brother, this is not the first time that we have done this. About 7-8 years ago, 2017, a similar thing happened, and when the president sent the army and the police into the galamsey areas, but we were in Ghana when just after 2-3 years they stopped, and all these galamsey operators went back to the field. What we are saying is that we need something that is lasting, something that will actually address the problem. And just a knee-jerk reaction like taking the police and the military to the field for just a few days will not address the problem. What we are saying is that there should be a ban, a total ban on all mining in forest reserves, in water bodies, and in areas that are not permitted to mine. So that is the first thing. The second thing is that we need to go and review our environmental standards in mining. We need to look at where and how mining is done in Ghana, and these are the only ways we can address the problem, not a knee-jerk reaction by politicians, by setting up committees that will waste public funds, by taking police and military to the field for a few days. That will not really address the problem. We have sent an 8-point solution to how we think the problem can be resolved. We are calling on the president and the government to listen to us and act on those points that we have sent to them.
We understand that there's been some arrests as well on the sidelines of the protests. Can you speak more on that, please?
Yes. Unfortunately, just as I said initially, we gave the police and the government notice. So we followed all the legal processes to be able to do the demonstration. And unfortunately for us in Ghana, there is this law that allows the police to go to the courts at the blind side of protesters to seek an injunction on the protest if you want to do. So the police attempted to do that, but we had already planned to go to the street, and we had already informed and we had already mobilized our people to go to the street. And so when the people came to the street, the police, standing on this law and on this court authority that has been given to them, on the blind side of the protesters, came and then they antagonized the protesters, and in doing so, some of our people were arrested. And the worst part is that in Ghana, everybody is entitled to bail when you are arrested, except when it's a capital offense, and such as murder, or let's say you are dealing in narcotics. Those are the non-bailable offenses. And treason too is non-bailable. But just a simple protest gone wrong is bailable. Our lawyers went to court to bail these people, and the court refused under the disguise of that these law-abiding citizens were rather doing treasonous act, or that what they were doing was treason, which is absurd, which is just a circumvention of rule of law, and we protested. We said that it's not fair, and we are calling on all leadership, not only in Ghana but also in Africa, to call on our president and the political elites to abide by rule of law. We follow the law, we follow the process. It is them that went behind our back just in order to create this whole mess that we have, to say that we should stop the protest. So yes, that's what has happened, and about 40 of them were arrested, including a minor, and some of them have medical conditions. And as I speak to you, 2 of them are at the police hospital receiving treatment because they had medical conditions and they had to be taking their medication, and they were not allowed. Some of them were not even allowed to be fed. And in Ghana, when you arrest, it's a family of the person that has been arrested that brings them food. The police don't have resources to feed them. And because some of them travel very far to come and do the protest, some of their family members don't even know that they have been arrested, and so they don't have access to food, access to water. And this is what is happening in Ghana. That is seen as a beacon of democracy in Africa. This is what the police is doing to legal protests and citizens of the country.
Again, it just informs my opinion that both countries are just different sides of the same coin. But finally, for you, Obed, before I let you go, what next? What next with the protesters? What next with the government? What do we hope to see, or what do the protesters hope to see after the protest?
Well, the first point I want to make is that not only in Ghana, but all in Africa, the youth and civil society. One of our former UN Secretary General, Kofi Annan, said that civil society, we are the conscience of the society. If we fail to act, then the politicians and other people will just circumvent the law. So what we are saying is that citizens need to rise up against autocratic leadership, and even in leadership that seems to be democratic, but they are espousing dictatorship. We need to rise up against them, just like it happened in Kenya and it happened in other countries. The youth needs to rise up. The second thing is that for galamsey, we know, our politicians know that it is destroying our water, it is destroying our livelihood. They need to act, and if they are failing to act, we are calling on the UN, on the AU, on ECOWAS to call the leadership of Ghana to book. I mean, they need to call them to order and know that what affects Ghana affects Cote d'Ivoire, it affects Togo, it affects our neighbors, and so they need to call them to order. And also, finally, I want to talk to our politicians that you are elected for a period of time. They should know that they are not a monarch, they will leave. And so when they come into power, they should be careful how they act, because election is just about 3 months away in Ghana. And if politicians continue to act this way, a time will come that we, the citizens, will not even be interested in voting for so-called political leaders, because they have failed us and they continue to fail us. Not only in Ghana, and I can say on authority that in other African countries, our politicians are failing us. And if politicians are failing us, then the youth, we need to stand up and resist this failure of the political elites.
And that's just nicely put there. Obed, I want to say thank you. But Obed Owusu-Addai, he is the convener of the Ghana Civil Society Cocoa platform. Once again,
thank you very much, Obed.
Thank you.